Riley Hill, welcome to the zone.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
Were you recording today?
I wasn't, no. I was doing a little bit of mastering though.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good. Anything you can talk about, or is it top secret?
I was doing some mastering for a friend of mine who lives in Ontario, who used to live in Winnipeg. It's like folk stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, just one song.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Do you have a favorite genre to work in?
Do I have a favorite genre to work in? Not really, no. I mean, like, no, I can't say I do.
All right.
Yeah. But it's more like there are things where I would like, if I have more, say like more influence on the project, or like I feel like I just want to work on things where it's like, oh yeah, I'm valuable to this. If I feel like it's something where my skills can go to it. But my tastes are all over the place. Like I have my like ambient kind of electronic music that I do, but I also love like all sorts of genres, and I love like pop music and stuff.
Yeah.
So just like, you know, in every genre there's stuff that I like, probably.
Yeah. Where is it that you feel that you're able to put the most into it and provide the most?
Where is it?
Yeah.
It kind of depends. Like, I guess I feel like I'm always figuring that out. I'm always trying to like be like, oh, what direction should I go to? Because I've been doing it a long time, and I've done stuff where I'm like recording. I've done stuff where I'm like recording, mixing, and helping with production. And I've done stuff where I'm like more just doing recording and passing it off. And like there's things I can add in all of them, but I'm trying to, I guess I don't really know, maybe. I'm trying to figure that. I'm always trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it surprises me. Like if I'm like, I'll do this project and I didn't think, like I think I have more to add than I did or something. I don't know. So I try to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've worked with some incredible artists. Like I got a short list here. Living Hour, Andrina Turenne, Deerhoof, Jocelyn Gould, French Class, Mattmac, Isla Barker, Irvin Miller, Great Wealth, The Love Letters, Warming, Merin, Neighbour Andy, Mise en Scène, Jace Bodner, Sam Singer, Dr. Riff, William Prince, Noah Derksen, Kelly Bado, Silas Presley, Slow Leaves, Tyler Del Pino, and Ariel Posen, to name a few.
Yeah, that's true.
When you first get into the studio with one of these artists, what are some like little rituals you have to either set the vibe or set the station, make sure everything's going to go smooth?
It really depends. It really depends what I'm doing. So a lot of the time, like with some of those artists you mentioned, say with like something like William Prince or Ariel Posen, I'm usually just like engineering. Like those were projects where I'm just like doing a recording engineer. So kind of being prepared. I'm not even necessarily talking to the artist directly. It's more like communicating with the producer, because like a lot of artists with bigger budgets will have a producer. So if it's an artist like that, I'm like communicating with the producer, find out like, you know, what kind of, do you have any thoughts on like what kind of sound we're going for, and then just make sure things are like seamless when artists arrive. And then if it's something where I'm more involved, like with Irvin, where I'm like more involved on the recording side and like talking to him beforehand, I would just talk to him, you know. Right. And then with stuff like make sure we've talked and like we have an idea. I don't really like to go if I'm in like mixing or producing, I try to avoid like coming in like I would want to see the band play or have a conversation on the phone at least first or something like that. So yeah, I would say the main answer would just be like, yeah, it's different project to project, but it's just like trying to have that connection with whoever.
Yeah.
Like, cause if I'm just the audio engineer, and I'm like reaching out to the artist being like, hey, like, what are you trying to get out of the, like, they might just be like, what? Like,
right.
like, but if they have a producer, I'll talk to the producer, because the producer's going to be the one to like relay that on to me.
Right.
So,
And so as an engineer, how does your setup change from artist to artist? Like, what sort of things are going to be different in terms of how you're actually setting up the session?
how I'm setting it up. Well, say like with something like Warming, where I did some like co-production and I did some sound design and things like that on it. He will have like demo, like Brady always has demos that are super vibey, and it's kind of just like getting that vibe, but then like making it a little bit more hi-fi and stuff so that it can go like just has a wider audience, basically. That's how I think about it. So with an artist like that, it would be like, we're probably going to be using some of the elements of the demo. So it's like, what do we want to do at the studio? Or are we kind of like doing recording drums, or are we using it more for like mixing? Am I going to be doing stuff at my home studio first, like editing or more production?
Right.
And then with an artist like Irvin Miller or Silas Presley or something, it's very much like they're a band, they're performing, like when Irvin was on your podcast, he's talking about, for him, he wants it to be like, this is like us as a band performing, right? And that's like a valid, that's like super, especially with AI and stuff. I totally get lots of artists are wanting to make things like, doesn't need to be perfect, it doesn't need to be like to the grid metronome. You don't want it to be like super edited, just like get a band's performance. So and for me, I'm like, I like music like that, but I also like music that's like perfect and whatever. So it's kind of like just finding this setup will just be dependent on like what my role is, what the vibe is. And it could be as simple as just like, we've got some amps set up and we're just going to put weird sounds to them and record them. Or it could be like, we've got all sorts of mics in different rooms set up. And that's kind of the way that runs the gamut.
Do you have any equipment that you swear by? Is it always kind of in rotation?
That's a good question. Equipment that I swear by. That's a tough one. I mean, yes, there's stuff that I use at home that I use every day, and then there's stuff that like at the studio I use all the time that's like not mine, but I'm used to. There's definitely like lots of plugins that I use every day. I really like this. I really like the recording console that's at Studio A of No Fun Club. Like I'm really used to it. So that's like, and also like the echo chamber there is really, really sweet. Those are two things where I'm just like kind of the room, like it's like the console and the room itself and the, and like the echo chamber, that stuff where it's like, it's really hard to do that. Like to get, like you can do great recordings at home, but that's the thing where it's just like, even if you just put like one mic up, you get this like beautiful sound because it's a beautiful room and everything. So those sort of things are like on the kind of gear side. I'm like, like working in a nice room, having that cool console, that stuff's really cool. But like for other tools, like, I don't know, trying to think if they
is there a plugin you throw on like everything?
Right. Like I really like FabFilter Pro Q4. People know. That's just like, it's just awesome. What else? They just, and that company just came out with a compressor that's really good. Been using that. Yep.
I haven't hit them because they're expensive and I have cheap ones, but
they're kind of more expensive, but I do think they're worth it.
Everyone says they're worth it.
The thing they do is they put a lot of, they're not trying to like model any particular hardware or any like thing like that, but they put a lot of time into like making the like all the settings are like sort of intelligent. So if you set it to like whatever you set the attack to or whatever, they've done a bunch of programming behind the scene to like make it fit on lots of different source material. So I find that it's really easy to dial in good sounds, like clean good sounds with that, because they put so much thought into like how it'll react to everything, as opposed to it being like, it's like the opposite of like using an analog hardware where you're like, oh, this is going to do something wrong, but like that's what I like about it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of room sound, I wonder if you could offer me some advice for this room.
Yeah.
Because this is a pretty big room. We got like the concrete walls or stucco, whatever.
Yeah.
So like I'll split it in half with the curtain here if we're doing like a little acoustic thing here.
Yeah.
But if we were to do like a full band thing with the whole room, what are some ways I could treat it?
It's hard to say just off the hop. But I mean, the most effective treatment that you can get is bass trapping,
right?
Or like broadband absorption. So it's like you have to get there's a bunch of different products, but it's basically like thick insulation,
right,
that has a certain density, and it just will slow sound pressure, like it'll slow sound down. And there's a bunch of things, like if you look up how to make bass traps or make like gobos online, you can like look. It's pretty simple. Like if you're handy, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I've looked into it. I guess one of the questions too is like where exactly would I put them here? Let's say if the kit is in the same spot there, do we have bass trap? I guess we want one in the far corner.
Well, bass traps will just make the room more linear and cut down on like echoes. So bass traps and just like general absorption. So yeah, corners, reflection points. Like if you're talking about mixing, you would want to put them on like the ceiling right above your speakers to block your first reflection point. Like, because what happens when you're in a room and there's sound coming at you, if you're in front of a speaker, it's like say 70% of what you hear is the speaker, and then the rest is what's bouncing off the walls. Right. So what you want to do is like find those spots where wherever you sit when you're mixing, you want to put something that's a full spectrum sound absorber there, and that'll cut down on like non-linearities in what you're hearing, because then you're just hearing the speaker, you're not hearing stuff bouncing off the walls. So, and then just like bass trapping is basically just like if you want the room to be more dead and have less frequencies ringing out, the more the better, but it will just like kill all of everything. Right. But like, I don't know, with a room like this, you probably want to preserve some of the and for like I mean, if say you're recording drums and you want to get like a room sound, trying to find places to put find other places to put guitar amps or something so that you can put a room mic up without it just being guitar.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of what I would think. That's what my mind goes to.
Yeah. No Fun, it's usually like, I've never been in there, but you have it seems like it's mostly in the one room. Like it's a big room that has the kit, has the amps, everything in one spot, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, a lot of if you see people online performing in Gnome Fun Club, it's often like, or I mean, like it's often on like a live recording, you want the amps to be in the room. A lot of people will have amps even if they're not on, like just to have the look. In a recording session, you would normally have like the amps in a different room, like if you're doing it for an album, because then you have more control. But so like for if you're seeing a live video, it looks like that. But you usually, like, No Fun Club has a bunch of separate rooms, so you can kind of put stuff in. And there's like what are they called? Go-betweens. Like they're like little patch things where you can like plug a guitar cable in and then it comes out in another room. So you can have doors closed, but like signal going between rooms. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that's just like having a dedicated studio. It's like, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
You can have those things. Yep.
How long have you been at No Fun now?
I have worked for No Fun Club since like since it opened, which I guess is like 6 years ago, like right around the pandemic, just before the pandemic. Yeah.
Nice.
And I was doing like freelance audio engineering for like 7 to 10 years. I can't remember exactly when I started, but like working like the early stuff that I did, like working on the first Living Hour album, or even like before they were called Living Hour, and before that I was like working on my own music. And I mean, I did a ton of stuff before that, but it was like around the time when I did that first Living Hour album was when I was like, yeah, I want to try and like do this full time. So it's like about 8 years before Fun Club is when I was starting doing that.
So
yeah.
What are some highlights of the journey in the last while?
That's a good question. There's so much stuff that I get to be a part of, even like something like the William Prince record. Like that's awesome because he's such a good songwriter and such a great dude, and just like it's good to see him getting more people knowing about him. But like I only had like I did a few days of engineering on that record, so it's like I worked on it, but I didn't like do a ton. So there's lots of stuff like that, because like being around a really nice studio like No Fun Club, lots of people come through. Something that's really sweet is like my friend Zune, who I just helped Zune finish some recordings for a new album that they're releasing soon. And before they live in Winnipeg again, and before they lived here before and they moved to Ontario and then came back. And so like at the very beginning of my kind of recording, I'd been doing it for a while, but basically we were both on this record label that like fell apart, and they had hired me to produce Zune's band, which was called Blisters at the time, and they never paid me because like the record label just like fell apart. And then but me and Daniel were always cool, like or like Zune, and so I was just like, well, I love this album, and can I just like finish it and like we just release it, even though they were moving away, and like the band was going to break up because it was just them moving to Ontario. And they were like, yeah, sure. So and that was nice. Even though like that album didn't get promoted or marketed properly, people loved that band at the time in the city. And so like I ended up getting a bunch of like, when I first started doing recording, I ended up getting a bunch of projects just because people were like, oh, this is a cool album. Nice. So that happened. And then to see like later, Zune got like on a record label and everything, and I helped with their first, like, I don't know if it was the first Zune thing, but it was it's this album called Bleached Waves, where I mixed and co-produced a bunch of stuff on it, and it was like their first album for Paper Bag, which is like a kind of bigger label, and it kind of started that new chapter for them. So just like having stuff like that where it's like friends or people I like really believe in and care about, and people I've worked with over the years who are like, like we don't always work together every album, but it's like you check in, and like it's good to see like everyone, like people keep doing it, and like they kind of reach new stages and you get to help them and be involved along the way. So stuff like that's really fun. And it's and I'm excited for that to come out because I did some production on it and stuff.
Nice.
So that was a cool one from recently.
Yeah, I mean, you feels like basically everyone in the scene. It feels like you're working with everyone. Yeah,
I mean, I know a lot of people. Winnipeg has a ton of talent. There's a ton of producers and engineers here. So I try to just be like, like I don't want anyone to feel like I want people to work with me because they want to, right? So like, there's if I'm involved a little bit, or if I just kind of work on mastering, it's sweet to be involved with lots of things.
And you've had some touring bands you've worked with as well. Who are some of those?
Touring bands,
Who
like
you
bands from out of Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I got to work with Deerhoof when the studio first opened, which was sweet because they were like pretty big band, and that's also one of the first times that I've like worked with artists who were like really like they inspired me when I was younger because they were like very experimental.
That's awesome.
And so it was wild to work with them. I was kind of like the Pro Tool. I was basically like just ran Pro Tools for that session. They had like a producer engineer guy, so I was just doing Pro Tools, which was fun. And they were super just like great people. I worked with a band from I wouldn't say they're touring, but they're like a band from out of town called Friday Night Rebels they're awesome people. They're from they're called from this town called Waterhen.
Waterhen.
I think. You know that sound?
No.
Water. Yeah, it's like up north, and they're just awesome. And they also like are working so hard to promote it. Like they're doing tons of online promotion and just like working hard. They're all like teachers, but they were great to work with. I love those guys.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so lots of bands, different, I don't know, I'm trying to think. There's all sorts of different bands from different walks of life. I haven't worked with that many bands that were like on tour, but there has been some out of town bands. And we've done a lot of like video stuff for out of town bands. People who are passing through.
That makes sense.
And there's more and more artists from out of town coming in. So yeah.
Who are some artists or some sessions where you were like, it was especially challenging either because it was like a weird sound, weird genre that you're not used to working in, or they wanted something specific that was like hard to achieve?
Who was a band that, or
just like what were some sessions that were like that? If there are any that are.
I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like everything is hard, kind of. Everything's like you do it and you're like, for me, there's always a point in almost every project where I'm like, am I going to figure this out? And then you just keep working and you get through it. So almost everything has moments that are challenging. And there's also a thing where it's like, if it's like a band who are kind of starting out and they're like not super experienced versus a band that's like working with a producer or something, it's just like no matter how hard you work, there's going to be like a level to which like it's just not going to sound like, they're not going to sound like a arena rock band if it's their first recording.
Right.
So you kind of like, that can be hard. It can always be hard to be like, that's the struggle, is like, how is this even supposed to sound? So I always feel like there's a point where I'm like, yeah, I feel a little bit like, am I doing the right thing? And then, so it's hard to single something out, because I feel like I shouldn't say all projects. Some projects come together really easily, but like a lot of the time there's like one song on an album at least where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Right. So it's kind of just like, that's kind of just like part of it.
That's part of being an artist, I feel like, in general, right?
Yeah.
There's always shit you're just like, well, I hope this works.
Yeah. Or like something that can be really hard where it ends up being like, I guess I could say that there are times when I work on stuff that doesn't get released, or like where the artist goes a different direction with it. So where like either they didn't like the song that we did, or they didn't like what I did, or I wasn't the right fit. And I find with stuff like that, it usually comes down to kind of like communication, or like not being on the same page as the band.
Right.
Like when you've talked and you've been like, oh, I think this is what they want, and you think everything is good, and then it's like not. Right. And that's another thing. It's like, I can't, you just do your best, and it's not, occasionally it's just not going to work out. But yeah.
And that's usually like a sound thing, or like maybe they don't like what are some ways bands could alleviate that or make sure that doesn't happen, that there's good communication?
That's such a good question. I don't know. Like, I feel like sometimes, especially if you're working with artists who don't have a ton of experience, it can just be it's hard. It's hard because, yeah, it's like you need to do it. You need to do recording and finish things and work on stuff to like gain the knowledge and terminology. So like usually you're less like the more experienced an artist is, and then the more they're like choosing to work with you because they're like, oh, I know that you've worked on this and this and this, or we've worked with you before, we have this dialogue and like we know this is going to work, the more likely it's just going to work out. And then when it's people who you don't know very well or maybe don't have the experience or terminology, that's when like you just don't have the same, you know, words for things that you say. Like, does that make sense?
I think so. Like, if you use reference tracks, for example, would that solve most of this, or is that even not there yet?
No, I think having reference tracks is good, but something I've also noticed is like I've worked with artists where I'll receive reference tracks where it's just like, okay, but like these songs all sound different from each other and they don't sound like your band. Right. So like some people just don't have the experience to like understand how much can be changed. Like there's some things where it's like, if you want to sound like this, you've got to write some new songs, you know?
Right,
and so I try to kind of like,
or it's like you want this guitar sound, but this guitar sounds from a different guitar.
Yeah,
that
different,
you didn't record with.
But it could even just be like this song that you're showing me is like 90 beats per minute, and it's like there's 3 instruments, and then your song has like 5 instruments, and it's 130 BPM. You know, like things like that, where it's just like you're just not gonna get there with this. Yeah. Song, and like what you're hearing and like liking about this song isn't directly transferable to this other song. And that's sort of stuff that you need to kind of figure out on your own, and also working with a producer who will like challenge you in the right way, because I tend to be very like, I tend to just like trust when an artist says something. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just assume you know what you want and like figure out how to make that work. But I'm trying to get better at I'm trying to get better at just being like, no, I don't think this is right. Yeah. And like just not be as like, because I've done a lot of stuff where I'm just like trying to be as accommodating as possible. And I think that actually is probably
I think that's big, especially for new artists, because they don't really know what they want oftentimes, or like they have like a loose vision, and they'll try to describe it and be like, okay, well, we can do that, and then end result, there's like, oh, that's not what I was. Yes.
So I'm trying to learn how to just be like, you know, maybe I'm not the right fit, or like, I think you shouldn't record yet. Maybe work on your ideas or your demos or whatever more, and trying to be like that. But yeah.
I guess in the similar vein, like what are some things artists should do more of in the studio before getting in the studio, and what should they avoid? Just make sure everything runs smoothly.
Things that artists can prepare for going in the studio. You really can't be too prepared. Like I've worked on some sessions with artists where they have stuff demoed to the point where like the demo almost sounds like a finished thing. And then it can be just like, maybe then there can be this thing that happens where it's like, oh, well, I wish we just like experimented a little bit more in the studio. Right. But that's pretty rare. Like most artists, I wasn't doing this session, but last week Roman Clark was in the studio working on some stuff, and he always demos stuff, but then in the session, they were like, well, how can we beat your demos? Like, how can we add more cool stuff and like experiment more? And I think that's like a really cool attitude. So, I mean, Roman, obviously, he's like an amazing producer and engineer on his own. So like a lot of artists won't have that much experience to be able to like get things to that level. But I would say like if you have the ability to like demo and record stuff on your own, it's like pretty good idea to do.
That's really good. Yeah, like you polish it up, like get it as good as you can. Then in the studio, you're like, okay, now let's take this, top it.
Totally. And you can be like, if you're interested in recording and stuff on your own, you can like try stuff and then be like, oh, we had trouble with this. Like, this is something we know we need to work on. And then like, if you're working with an engineer, they'll be like, oh, okay, they'll have stuff in mind already. And then you can share the demos with them so they can be like, oh yeah. So I would say like, you can't really be too prepared. Like with No Fun Club, usually people are coming in pretty prepared because it is like, you know, it's like on the more expensive side of studios that you can rent in the city. So, you know, people know, but there's been a few things I've worked on in the last couple of years where it's like, oh, this could have been better prepared. I try to make sure that doesn't happen. It definitely, when I was starting, that happened more. And yeah, so I would just say, yeah, you can't be too prepared unless you're planning to go into the studio and like actually write stuff or have the person who you're working on with the studio like add things. But even then, it's probably better to do that stuff outside of a studio. Yeah. Try and work with a producer who can do that kind of stuff from home. Yeah. Just because, unless you just have the money.
Unless you,
Yeah.
How do you prepare for a session if you're...
if I'm the artist?
If you're recording.
Like if I'm the recording
engineering, yeah.
Oh, if I'm engineering, how do I prepare? Just I'll usually try and ask the band for references. If they have demos, I want to hear the demos. Big part of that is just like, there's a bunch of different rooms in the studio. It's like, what room are we in? Do we want to have like a super dead, like 70s funk drum sound, or do we want like rock, like big drum, like, so that kind of stuff is what I'm thinking about usually, just especially if it's like a band, like what kind of drum sounds we're going for, what kind of vocal sounds. So yeah, just references and like I said before, just like having conversations with the band to try and make sure we're on the same page. Yeah.
And what about the mix? Because I basically gave up on mixing. I was like trying to mix our own stuff for like a while back, and I'm like, this is too much. I'm like getting way too far in the weeds here.
Right.
How do you keep your sanity during a mix, and what are some specific technical tricks that you use
for mixing? Mixing's an interesting one. I feel like for mixing, you kind of like, for mixing, like there's like a point where you can, if you just don't mess with anything and you just sort of like do a little bit of EQ and like worry about the volume of things, you should be able to get it like pretty close to the point where most people will be like, yeah, that mix is fine. And then it's like the getting from being able to just do like a basic mix that's representative. And I guess with that in mind, like you do EQ, you do basic balance, as long as the like arrangement and the songwriting makes sense, and you don't have like a bunch of like parts that are out of like just really stepping on each other, like where it's like a production issue. Like if your production is good and like you could put one mic in the room and the band will sound like okay, you should be able to get a mix with like not that much. Like there's the point where you're like, okay, yeah, this is sounding good. And then getting past that point, it's like there's a thing where there's like a big dip and then there's like diminishing returns. So it's like if you want to get into that point where you're like really getting serious with mixing and taking it to that point, it's like kind of goes into what I was saying before. I feel like every time there's a place in the mix where I'm like, is this good, or like, what am I doing? Like it's just like really going down the rabbit hole with it, kind of. But like for me, the more I do, the more it's just like the mix has to serve the production, and the production has to serve the song.
Right.
So it's like, what's the most important thing? Like, it's usually the vocals. So make sure you can hear the vocals, make sure like the hooks, like whatever's like the guiding light of the song, as long as that is like spotlighted and not being stepped on, that's like 90% of mixing. And then all the other stuff is like, like to me, mixing is like, does the song emotionally come through? That's the main thing. And then but all of the technical minutia stuff is like extremely time consuming to get right.
Yeah.
And so like even people who are good usually struggle with it. So
yeah.
But I've had the experience of being like, oh, I spent half an hour on this mix, and then I spent like come back and spend a day on it, and it's like, oh, the one I spent half an hour on is better, because I wasn't getting, I was keeping in mind of like, what is the what's the focus of the song,
seeing the forest for the trees or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, like there's an interview with Bruce Swedian, who is like, I don't know if you know him. He's an audio engineer.
Rings a bell.
He's an audio engineer. He's passed away now. He worked with Quincy Jones on a lot of records, and he mixed and recorded a lot of stuff for Thriller, like the Michael Jackson record. For this song, I can't remember if it was Thriller or Billie Jean, but like they did like 90 mixes. And Quincy Jones was like, what are you guys doing? And like, just grab the tape for like the first mix you did. And it was like the first, like they ended up going to like the second or third mix that he did. Like after he'd spent a day slaving over it, they were just like, well, everything was good with this one. What did you, he was trying to get it perfect, and it just like went. So like with that, it's like if someone like at that high of a level with that kind of, I feel like that's something that we can all sort of, kind of, you can all go overboard.
But like what you said about like the motion needs to come through, right? Where you're like, the more long you spend on it, like you kind of get detached from that, and you're focusing on the specifics where it's not what's actually important, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's a lot of the time the issue people have is they get it stuck in the weeds of like, like this guitar sound is awesome, or like I really did it, but then other people, and like especially if you're working on your own band, and you'll be like, oh, I'm finally happy with this thing I've been struggling with, but everyone else is like, but like where's the vocal or whatever. It's easy to kind of get lost in the sauce with mixing, but that's it's part of it.
I like it. What else we got? Do you ever have a super tedious process that on a project that just took way too long but resulted in a great work, and also the inverse of that, super fast process that resulted in a great work?
Yeah, totally. I feel like a lot of the time the songs that I am like the proudest of, I did end up working on a lot, and it's like a lot of revisions, like songs like the Warming song White Lies. I don't know if you know that song, but that song, I really like that song, and I'm really proud of the mix, and like I did it a long time ago, but even like when I listen back now, I'm like, oh yeah, I like this. I don't know, we did like 30 revisions or something. Whoa. And we did like different, we experimented with lots of drum sounds, and we totally went down the rabbit hole, but we like came out the other side, you know? And then maybe like, like some of the stuff I've done with Irvin would maybe me, because I don't spend like a crazy amount of time mixing that. It's just like a live band.
Right.
I kind of just like let it be. So that would be an example of something where it's like, yeah, you just kind of let it be.
Yeah.
And then I listen to that and I'm like, sweet.
Yeah. What we were talking about, right? Like they have the emotion locked in. They're a live group. So you just make sure the volume's good.
Make sure the volume's good, and like I have like, a few little tricks I'm doing here and there, but nothing like, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
That would be, and those are like, I guess those are like the extremes of what I would work on, like something
Right.
where I'm involved in production and I'm spending months or even a year on it, or something where I'm more of just like an engineer. Yeah.
Do you find you get more satisfaction from the longer processes?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's kind of hard to quantify.
Yeah.
I like both. If I'm in a period like where I'm getting back into doing more production-y stuff. I was doing more of that before I started working at the studio. So I'm really like trying to take on more work like that and like wanting that. But I feel like if I was only working on things where it was like, yeah, we're spending a year on this or something.
Yeah.
I would be like, I just want to like record some band.
Yeah.
like, so I like both. I like to do both. And with my own music too, like I'll have some songs where it's like, oh, I've been working on this song for like 2 years. And there'll be other songs where I just like this song that I just released with my ambient project Meanspath. It's funny actually. It was based on a song I made a long time ago, and then the version that I released is like something that I just made in like a few hours. Like it's like a reworking kind of. And then I like both versions, so it's like a single with both versions on it.
Right.
So like, yeah, I like both. It's part of the way I approach art personally is like try to do a little bit of both, and then I find that I end up working on stuff in that way too.
Yeah. Are there any, when you're listening to music as an engineer producer, are you like listening for the mix often? Are you like looking at that as like a point of like, because I guess I don't really hear it, right? Like I just know the song sounds good or it doesn't sound good or whatever.
For sure.
Like are you like really dialed into like what's happening?
I will. It depends what mindset I'm in. Like I usually try and just listen to music and like whatever, do I like this or not? But there are times where because I'm an engineer, there will be stuff that I notice that another person wouldn't notice that like distracts me. Like do you know the band Nowhere?
Don't think so.
They're sweet. They're this band from LA who or they're from California. I think they're from LA, but they're like virtuoso musicians, and they make like kind of experimental pop music. But like the drummer, who's one of the best, probably like Lewis Cole, he's probably one of the best drummers in the world. He just loves like super lo-fi drum sounds. And I feel like whenever I listen to Noah, I'm just like, oh, I wish that the drums were just like slightly better recorded. But that's like their aesthetic.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like if I listen to it on like earbuds or something, I won't notice. But if I listen on like studio speakers, I'm just like, oh, this sounds kind of bad.
Yeah.
But I love the band. They're so good. So like something like that where it's like, yeah, probably if I wasn't an audio engineer, I would just enjoy this and be like, whatever. But
I guess that can be hard to turn off sometimes.
It can be hard to turn off, but also I do like, personally, I like stuff that's like kind of janky and just like crappy sounding. I don't mind that. So there's a degree to which I'll be like, oh, I wish this was better or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
I just imagine now, would you ever like with a recording artist, they want it sounding a certain way and you're just like, what if we made it sound worse? What if we made it sound more janky and weird?
I can do that a little bit sometimes. Yeah. But that is a thing people ask for sure.
Right.
Like they want it to sound. But then that's definitely a thing where working at a studio, you're like, well, why are you paying all this money to record in a studio if you want to sound bad? Yeah. Just go record in your basement and it'll be easy. Yeah. So that can be a conversation to have with the band if they're like, they want to sound bad. Yeah. But I don't know. Like sometimes people just want stuff to be like a certain energy. Try and get it.
Yeah.
Usually you can do that without it being like bad, kind of, or like I don't know what bad means, but like something that people
right.
something that people say like, hey, this kind of sounds weird.
Or it's like a raw quote unquote sound can still sound good, you know?
Yeah,
you
for
know.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
What do you got cooking right now? If you can talk about anything, what are you excited for?
Let me think. I just finished a bunch of stuff. I've got some new stuff coming up. I'm working on a lot of my music, so I've got lots of stuff. I haven't done music with singing in it in like, well, I played drums and like sing backup in a band called Mulligrub. I don't know if you know Mulligrub, but we play and rehearse pretty often. But other than that, I haven't done anything where I'm like singing in over a decade. And I have a bunch of songs that I want to release, but I don't have a timeline for it because I'm like, I want the aesthetics of it to all, like I want it, like I have stuff that sounds like super different and I want to try to figure out what the roadmap is for it before I release it. Cause
that'll be for Meanspath?
No, that will just be, I don't even know what it'll be, but stuff where I'm singing again, which like, that's what I did when I was in my 20s. I was like, all I did was just like tour and like try and make my solo project happen. And I kind of just like, it's super hard to do, and I was awful at, like, I was terrible at touring, like at booking tours. So it's really expensive, and the internet, when I was trying to like make it as an artist, that the internet wasn't like the same. Like it's harder to do. It was harder to promote yourself online, so you really had to get out there and tour and network. And I was like making this weird experimental music, and it was just strange. So I got to a point where I was just like, I mostly just like being in the studio. People like because people like my music, they were like asking me like, oh, like, do you want to record my thing? So I was starting to get asked to do that naturally. And I was just like, I should just focus on this because I got kind of burnt out on it. But in the last couple of years, I've been like, I don't want to do this again. Yeah. And I have like I just like singing. So I don't know what form that will take, but that's something that I'm definitely like excited for and thinking a lot about. But yeah, I don't know. I've got a session with Irvin. We're doing some more stuff. I've got a session with Ben and Esteban, who are like these two guys that do like jazz, kind of like fusion stuff that I really love working with. There's more. Those are the two things that I've just. Those are the people that I like just talked to today, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You play guitar as well?
Yeah, I play everything a little bit. Like guitar was my first instrument, so that's the one that I like technically play the best. But I don't. I'm a little rusty. I used to practice like constantly. And then drums, I've played a lot in other bands, and then like just I can play keyboards like to get my ideas out. Yeah. Because I wouldn't say I wouldn't be. I'm not good enough to like play keyboard in a band, but I can get my ideas out.
I was wondering for like your solo for your singing stuff where you are singing, would that be over guitar, or would that be over electronic stuff?
That's what I'm kind of figuring out because I have everything because I'm like I do my electronic music, so it's like I could do that. Yeah. But then also I have like all my history of like I've been in bands with drums and guitar since I was like 16. So it was like 20 years or whatever of that. So it's and also I feel like almost like it's kind of like come around back to that being cool again with all of this thing, like just computers and AI and everything, like just being like, yeah, you can do like a bass and guitar and drums and like have it sound awesome. People are really receptive to that again.
Yeah.
in a way where it like almost went away for a bit, but then like the idea of like a band has come back in a big way, I think. So
Yeah. Well, it's like Geese was one of the biggest breakouts of the year last year, and that was like that whole album is just very raw, very like band, very human album.
Totally. And even like Chapel Roan and Sabrina Carpenter, like the biggest pop stuff, it has like real guitar, real drums,
right.
a synthesizer that's like not quantized. It's like it like feels like alive again, kind of. So that's definitely like in, I don't know. I'm encouraged by that.
Yeah.
And it makes me be like, oh yeah, like I can just like, you know, do whatever.
Makes sense that it like comes in cycles.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, we got to the pristine pop perfect recordings, and then, you know, eventually get tired of it. It's like, okay, well, there's another thing.
Totally. Well, and the really interesting thing with music nowadays is that because of the internet being like, there's so many like you can kind of do anything.
Yeah, literally.
You can be really raw, and you can find an audience for that. You can be like super digital and perfect and find an audience, and it's just like, that's so I don't know what I want to do, but I have a lot of songs that I've worked on. So that's something I'm like, I want to do that more, and then keep working on more things that I'm excited about. And
I'm just thinking now, where do you think music's going in the next, like, let's say the next 20 years?
That's a good question. I think that there's still, so like you with Suno and stuff, have you tried it?
Suno?
Yeah, like the AI platform that you can make songs with. So I've messed around with it a little bit and stuff, like just seeing what it can do.
Yeah.
The thing that's weird with that is that like it's common, like some folks who I know who are like producers, like that's what they do, they produce, and who I've worked with, I was hearing from them like a while ago, even like 6 to 7 months ago, that what's happening a lot is that they're getting emails from artists who are like, I wrote this song and then I had AI like make it. Can you like produce this and make it sound like a normal song?
Right.
And I've started, since hearing that, I've had that happen to me a couple times where people reached out and they're like, here's like a demo that I made of my song with AI, and it's like not even them singing.
Right.
And I've heard from just like watching interviews and like reading that in Nashville, it's become, because in Nashville with country and stuff, they do like, you will write to pitch to an artist. Like you will be like, we're going to make them next Morgan Wallen song. Well, I think Morgan Wallen writes his own, but anyway, like country artists will be like, they're taking songs. People are trying to get the next song for this artist.
Right.
Write in their style, like write something that could sound like their voice. Suno lets you like fake that artist's voice, so you can send a demo that's like, it sounds like the artist already sang it, so they can hear it and be like, oh yeah, I could cut this and then like make it real. So that kind of stuff with AI, like I think we're just starting. That is gonna keep happening. Like people are already, I feel weird about using it, especially morally, because like I've tried it because I'm curious and like want to know what it can do. I feel it's morally iffy because like those companies didn't pay for the training data. Right. So like they're just like, they've trained their AI on all this stuff, and then like you can use it and make commercial work but not pay the people they trained on. It all seems wrong to me, but I don't think it's going away. Like they're going to find a way to, people are going to keep using it, and a lot of younger kids are just like, they're never going to care because it just existed when they were, as long as they can remember. So like, they don't care. I think that there's still going to be like, there's going to be tons of uses for that.
Like, how does that change the landscape?
It means that there's going to be like a lot of opportunities or things where like, oh, that you can do this with AI. This would have taken like you would have paid $1,000 to do this and you can just do it in 5 minutes now. So there's going to be a lot of stuff like that. I still think that people are going to care about artists though.
Yeah.
Because it's like your story. What do you have to say? All these things that like you can't, and like you saw people's reaction to like Timbaland's fake artist that he made. Everyone was just like, this sucks.
Yeah.
But you need to have like, I've seen on TikTok, people sort of start to have like personas where it's like you can't tell if it's AI or not.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that might become a thing where there's like these artist entities where like you kind of like maybe if they are AI but people don't know, which is weird. But I still think that there's going to be like people who make a full-time living or whatever as artists.
Yeah.
And also like in community, like in smaller music scenes, there isn't like, people still want to make art and people still want to watch musicians and like humans make art.
Yeah.
I do think it's just going to keep getting harder to like have it be your career, but I find it hard to imagine it stopping entirely. But
no, it doesn't make sense. Audiences even are like super forgiving, right? For like local shows, like they just want to see a band do their thing, you know, and it doesn't need to be this masterful whatever. It's like it's
totally,
it's just fun.
And it's like we were talking about earlier, like the fact that you can make like a pop song that's you wouldn't even notice that it's AI, and then you're like, wait, what? That's not even real. Like people are even more like, oh, I want to see like a real band who's good perform and be like, and not be like, was that a robot? Like actually know that it's a human and you're like seeing them. So I think that's gonna like those are gonna be like, the demand for AI stuff is going to like also cause demand for the opposite. That's how I feel. But it's going to be weird and hard, and there's going to be like lots of people who, I think a lot of people already are losing jobs, like especially people doing like sync and stuff, because you can like like I've seen like YouTube channels and stuff just like start using AI music because like, oh, we could pay someone, or we could just like clone music that sounds sort of like that, and like who's going to notice if it's just background music? So that will change, which is a lot of people who do music, that's their job, is like doing background music or something. So that kind of sucks.
But it's also still only at the entry level. Like it's one of those things where, okay, I need background music for my thing, but like if I had the money, like the artist is still gonna be better, the human artist.
Hopefully.
But that's what I'm wondering is like, in the future, is it still gonna be like that, or is it gonna be like, are the big Netflix shows, whatever, are gonna be using AI for everything?
I don't know. It's interesting. Hopefully not. We'll see. I'm trying to think. There was Netflix used like AI visual effects in something recently, right? Did you hear about that?
I did not.
It wasn't it was like a European show, like a sci-fi show they used. But I think people were pissed off. I don't know. It's just like it'll get normalized though. So
I guess that's a good question, because it's like I'm sure we will get to that level where it's like, you know, people are using it for big budget productions and everything, but people, the consumers, are still gonna want human made stuff. So I don't know, do we get to the point where it is so normalized that we're just like, ah, fuck it, this is just what art is now?
I don't know. Like I feel like it's gonna be I think it's gonna become integrated and into some things in some way, and then like how much are people gonna be like, I refuse? Because for me, like I'm not consuming like AI music or like AI videos, although like they do show up on my Instagram feed. So and like there are things where it's like just a meme where it's like obviously AI, where you're like, yeah, that's funny, but like how it's really hard to know where the line is going to be. But I don't know. It's scary though. Like I've been following AI for a long time, like I've been interested in it. And when the first like publicly available visual models where you could like be like make a dog riding a car or whatever came out, I was like, this is awesome. And they were like really crappy and hilarious looking.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's just like so realistic.
Here's Will
like,
Smith eating spaghetti.
Yeah.
That was
yeah, and it's just like terrifying. So yeah, that stuff's scary. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting and scary, and it'll be weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I have the sense that I think that people are still going to be like artists, and like people will still want that to see artists.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I have faith in humanity.
Yeah.
I think if it's like the only way to live for me, I'm like, can't be dystopian about everything.
Yeah. Well, it can become really depressing if you.
Yeah.
I think with music, one thing I will say with music and like the way people talk about it, or like the music industry, like with streaming and stuff, it's like there are ways where streaming is really terrible, and like a company like Spotify will do things that are bad, but like as far as it's not like it was easier to make it as an independent musician in the 80s. Like it wasn't better. Like I think people have kind of not like if you talk to most musicians I've met, like because I've met a lot of musicians from like met a lot of musicians from like all stages of life.
Yeah.
Most musicians I've met who like got a record deal or something, it didn't work out for them. Like it's like it's always been a predatory, hard like slog, like where there's a lot of people taking advantage of you. So, like, or there are a lot of people in the music industry that will like take advantage of artists and be like the way that the record label model works is they give you an advance that you can never pay back unless you're become super successful.
Right.
So they're just like they just give out money and then just like take it back like a bank with interest, and they'll shelve artists. Like they'll just be like, oh well, we signed these two bands and they sound the same, so let's just like never let this band. Like that's happened to people I know where they're just like their project gets shelved because they're like, well, we have other artists like this, let's just make sure that they can't release anything so they can't compete. And like all nowadays labels don't do that as much because labels just want to like hop on a TikTok trend or something. Like labels want to work with bands who are already have a following and stuff, but like that, the fact that we have social media and the fact that like you can put your music on Tidal or like Apple Music or whatever, and anyone in the world pretty much can listen to it and it costs almost nothing. It's just like completely different. So if you have the sort of like resources within like your group, if you're a band, like if you have someone who's kind of has a mind for marketing and someone who's a mind for like engineering and someone who has a mind for like graphic design, you could really put yourself out to everyone, like the whole world, before even worrying about a label or something. And then the label is coming to you and being like, hey, we want to be part of this thing you already have. And then as a band, you have leverage. So like that kind of thing doesn't happen that often, but like it does happen. Yeah. And so it's just like, there are negatives and positives. And
where, like in the 80s, that was not happening. Right. Like you can't get the record at all without the deal.
You couldn't even record.
Yeah.
Because you were just starting, like you had to go to a studio. I mean, the 80s, there was the very beginning of like you could get a tape, like a 4-track or something.
Right.
But like maybe the 70s, the end of the 70s. But like, you couldn't even record it unless you had money or unless you put a lot of money. And the wild thing with like studios is that like the average, it's like anti-inflation. Like the average day rate of studios has like halved or something since the 90s because you just don't need them anymore. So the demand isn't there. So like, it's like supply and demand in reverse. So a studio like
and the equipment.
Yeah,
way cheaper.
you don't need the equipment like that No Fun Club has. It's just something that's sweet. And like if you have money, it's awesome. If you can afford to save up and do it, it's sweet. But like you can just make like you can't just have a basement studio like you have and make a record and then like have a TikTok blow up and then you have a career. Like that happens to people. So it's just like it's such a different world. And just when I was like starting to do music, it was very just like, what do you even do? Like you go on tour and like what? Like there was no roadmap at all in my head. Like I just and now I feel like coming up as an artist, there's so much like on the internet you can like just look at like, oh, how do I promote myself? And
there's a pretty like there's guidelines. It's pretty step by step. This is how you do it. If you're gonna do it.
And there's lots of different ways, lots of different resources. So that's a way where like, even though it's really hard to like actually make money off of music, it was hard before too. Yeah. So I don't know.
It's always gonna be hard for artists. That's just is what it is. It's too much fun to get paid everything.
I guess so. Yeah. And it's just always weird. Like it's thing. You have to. I forget what you were. Oh, we were talking about AI and stuff, but it's like the same thing. Like I think it's gonna be like the same thing. It's like it's gonna have opportunities. There's gonna be downsides.
Yeah.
And like hopefully. I would be sad if like the next generation of kids coming up are just like, I don't care that this is AI. That's what I feel a little worried about. But
there's gonna be some people like that for sure.
Yeah.
And then we just we hope that most of the kids are cultured.
I guess so. But I just know from what I've seen with like younger kids, they're like, oh, you play guitar? Like they think it's cool because less people do it. So I feel like that'll just keep happening where it's like, oh, it's cooler to like actually play guitar than just get Suno to make you a guitar song and sing over it. Right. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like it keeps splitting further. There's like, okay, yes, some people are gonna not care that it's AI, but then because those people exist, right? More people are gonna be like, oh, now it's extra cool that it's not AI.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like the nicheification of everything, and it just exponentially grows as time goes on. Yeah,
totally. I think there will be people who like want to see, like they're interested in AI music or whatever. But like, still we've had like hits, like digital hits and like viral songs that have been AI. I don't know. We could talk about this forever. Yeah. Probably. It's interesting. I've been watching it and I'm interested in it and I'm scared.
Yeah.
And everything. I have all the feelings about it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap though.
Yeah, totally.
J. Riley Hill.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah.
Anything to say to the people before we head out of here?
Yeah, I don't know. Check out my music.
Meanspath, Mulligrub.
Yeah, totally.
And the endless list of recording and production credits.
Yeah, totally. And if you're interested in, if you've heard something that I've worked on that you liked, feel free to get in touch because I'm always looking to work on more stuff. So I won't be like, no, you're not good enough. Like I like working with artists who are just doing their first recording and everything. So yeah.
Nice.
I like working with all sorts of people. Yeah.
All right.
Anything you want to say?
What do I want to say?
I guess you can always add it.
Rock on.
Thanks. Thank you.